let's get some yappers in chat, and let's see some Zelda Breath of the Wild. Take it away, Cloud.
All right, hello everyone, welcome. I'm super honored to have been selected for the finale run here at Midwest Speedfest 2025. It's been a great event so far. I hope you all have been enjoying. Today we've got a very special run, one of my favorite speedruns ever. I'm just gonna jump right into it. So timing will start in about a minute from now. I'm just gonna go ahead and press new game. We've got a cutscene to sit through, but I'll let you guys know when we're actually starting the timer. So this is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Any percent, as you may know, is just beat the game as fast as possible. And this game can be beaten quite fast. As you know, it's designed to basically, once you complete the tutorial section, you can rush right to the end of the game and defeat the final boss without having to do any other of the story quests. And that's basically what we're going to be doing in this speedrun. The methods by which we get there are quite unorthodox. If you've never seen this run before, it's one of my favorite ever speedrun experiences. So I can't wait to show off the cool tricks that this game has to offer. And of course, we have our bonus incentive to upgrade to a special category that we call Breath of the Kingdom, which is Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom speedruns back to back. This is an official category on the 3D Zelda board, and it's been very fun. I've been running this for a few months now. So we're gonna go ahead and load into the game after this cutscene real quick here, and things will start picking up pretty quick. So timing will start in 3, 2, 1, and go. Now, first here we're going to be getting our first key item, which is the Sheikah Slate. This is basically, like your map, your inventory for the game. We're going to use it to clip out of bounds in about 30 seconds from now. Now, this is called a scope clip. The way this works is we line up at a precise angle against the wall and we spam the scope button. And then opening it will displace Link's model and push him out of bounds. And from there, we can skip a couple minutes of cutscenes. Unfortunately, we don't get to see that awesome title screen pan. But this is quite beneficial to the speedrun, so we're going to go ahead and try to set that up here. Alright, let's reposition. There we go. Now we can use a little technique to manage stamina. Our stamina meter here is very crucial part of the run. We use it for many different things. We can manage it using a technique called whistle sprinting by holding down the whistle button and mashing B. Quick crouch and crouch to get back in bounds. We can move at almost full speed while our stamina meter refills and just kind of alternate that with full running. Now we're going to be picking up a couple items here before we head to our first shrine out of the 4 that we'll need to complete on Great Plateau. So we're going to try to do a little manipulation here of these bokoblins. We can try to grab some of their gear. Alright, we're going to have to beat the buzzer here. Alright, very good. These will come in handy. We're not going to be using these for combat. It's basically for movement and enabling other glitches. So now already we're coming up on another quintessential trick. Oh, we got the lucky barrel. We're going to be performing what's called a shield clip. Now, what we can do is every time you shield surf on a slope, it stores that angle on your shield with what we call skew. And if you unequip during skew, oh, nice damage, then you can clip through walls, as we'll attempt to do here. So there's surfing to get our skew angle, and now we're going to line up on this wall right here. And we're through. Now this next trick here, it's so fast that I'm not going to have time to explain it right now, so you'll just have to watch and enjoy. This is bow lift smuggle slide. This is going to be our fastest movement method in almost the entire game. And we're going to be using this to get to our first shrine. We'll explain how this works later. I am going to get into the shrine first. And now we've still got that skew angle, so I'm going to perform a quick fall damage cancel. We'll use the angle to clip in, and there we go. We're already at the first shrine. Now coming up is another well-known movement tech called a wind bomb in Breath of the Wild. And this is part of the reason why we come to the bomb shrine first. First of all, it's just closest to where we start the game. And second of all, it's very useful for completely skipping every single shrine puzzle on the Great Plateau. The way a wind bomb works is you can drop the circle bomb and the square bomb, of which the 2 that you're given, in close succession during bullet time, which is like that slow-mo effect that Link has when he jumps midair, pulling out the bow. And you can kind of abuse that to launch one bomb, which will send the other bomb smacking into Link and will send him flying. I'm going to probably be a bit careful on this one. We'll go for the risky strat just because I have backup food. Shouldn't be a problem if we mess it up though. It's going to get here up on this peg. Ah, very close. Ideally, you can make it all the way up to that platform, but here we're just going to do a quick backup. Let's get up the ladder. And that is our first shrine. 1 down, 3 to go. Now to talk a little bit more about the structure of the run. So I mentioned there's 4 shrines on this tutorial area, which is the Great Plateau, that we have to complete before we can be given the paraglider and get on to the rest of the game. From there, you can basically go anywhere you want. Now we're going to be using more of those movement techniques to kind of get between shrines and then complete the shrines quickly before heading straight to castle to gather supplies for the 6-part boss rush that we'll have to face. That's the most intense part of the run, and I'm looking forward to that. So right now I'm just going to be scanning some amiibo for fish for attack of food, so if our host has anything for us, now would be a great time.
Well, folks, we are just $330 away from reaching that incentive to see yet another Zelda run here with Tears of the Kingdom right after this one. If everyone in chat would donate $5 right now, we would hit that in practically an instant. In fact, if we do well enough, there might be even more after that. I'm not going to say anything else, but, you know, maybe if you're good, we might throw you a little treat, chat. So if you're interested in that, get those donations in now. We don't have much time left. This isn't a very long run. As you can see, Cloud is blasting through this. So get those in sooner rather than later.
So we've got these little amiibo scanners. It's basically just an auxiliary device that gives you in-game drops. And this is the quickest way to get attack food for the boss rush. So we're just going to be scanning for some attack fish here. And just grabbing some backup fish in case we mess up some of our tricks. Because as you notice from the wind bomb, each time you do one, you do take damage. Alright, that should be good. Alright. Now normally you want to be as quick as possible here, but I don't mind taking my time to grab backup food just in case. This is a very volatile run. So now we're going to be setting up that bowless smuggle slide again. And the way this works is you perform this menuing to smuggle the bow to Link's hand, and then when you pick up an item in that state, if you step up onto a ledge, it puts you in kind of like a zero gravity state, and then by wiggling the joystick back and forth like this, that object will push Link quickly through the air. And that's how you can kind of get around quite quickly. So quickly, in fact, you notice the game is struggling to keep up with us. So I'm going to reset up skew here and clip into the Magnesis Shrine. Oh, not quite. Try that again. This is my least favorite clip in the run. Alright, there we go, we're in.
Just as Miyamoto intended.
If there's anybody from Nintendo watching this, please look away.
Please don't.
Please don't patch this on Switch 2.
If you work for Nintendo, just avert your gaze.
Mm-hmm. So I guess to go a little bit more detail into the abilities that we get in the starting area, Magnesis is not super useful for our purposes. The bombs are definitely the MVP of the run. We're going to be using them. As you can see, we can wind bomb with them. We can do BLSS to get around with them. And we're going to be skipping every single shrine with a wind bomb. In longer categories like Master Sword, where you have to get a bunch of hearts, or all shrines, which is a very cool speedrun, you can basically wind bomb to the end of every single shrine and just completely skip all the puzzles. I'm just going to drop down here. We'll go for another risky setup, why not?
Folks, we have just hit $3,000.
All right.
Thank you to Vulture and Cinder for their $80 donation saying, "My link is karma." That means we only need $250 to get that Tears of the Kingdom run. It is so doable. You can do it, chat. I believe in you. The room believes in you. We're gonna get there. It's gonna be great.
Thank you so much. And you'll notice here at the end of each shrine, I'm not skipping immediately. We always get people asking, streamer, you're not skipping the text. Well, that's on purpose. If you skip too early, it interrupts the game reloading the overworld, and so you actually get a longer load back outside. If you wait just a couple seconds, that load does not get interrupted, and you get a faster load here. So our next shrine up here is Stasis, and we're going to have to kind of perform the same routine of slide and then clip in. This one's a bit more on the difficult side, though. We've got a lot of tricky terrain to navigate through. So let's try not to get caught in traffic. Yeah, talking about Switch 2, there's been a lot of questions in the community on whether or not these glitches are going to be patched in the Switch 2 edition that they'll be releasing for Breath of the Wild. There are some tricks that if you try to perform them on an emulator at 60 frames per second, they just don't work. Like the shield clips and wind bombs can be a bit finicky. But we're going to climb here to perform what we call a spider wind bomb. Jumping off the tree. Oh, unfortunate. Controller snap back there. We'll use my backup tree. Okay. But yeah, while we're working on this, if our host has anything else for us, now would be a good time. Otherwise, I'll try to get up here. Alright, very nice. That's definitely one you want to take your time to get first try, if you can. Because the autosaves in this game, we're moving so fast that the autosaves can't really keep up. So if I die there, for instance, it's going to send me all the way back to Magnesis. So we definitely want to make sure we get that one. Now we're entering the Stasis Shrine. Again, this ability is not super useful. We're just going to be using it inside the shrine, and then we've got one more glitch we can... Well, I guess it's not really a glitch. A technique that we'll be using to get up the cliff after the shrine. Otherwise, we're still going to be skipping this shrine with a wind bomb. Now, if we do hit the incentive for that Tears of the Kingdom run, we'll be able to... I'm really hoping we get that because we'll be able to talk a lot about kind of what was changed between games, what was patched out, how is the speedrun tech different. If you're a nerd like me and interested in hearing about that, please donate towards that incentive so we can...
Yeah, we have roughly 20 minutes, you'd say, to get that in?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh yeah, that's not a whole lot of time, folks. If you want to see that Tears of the Kingdom run, get your... is running out.
And the ragdoll cancel, very nice. That was a little bit too clean. Alright, well, we are almost out of the Great Plateau and we can get to the end game. The last shrine we have to do is Cryonis, which is the LVP of the run. We're not going to use it a single time, hopefully. And this one's actually my favorite shrine, or at least my favorite wind bomb inside a shrine. But now we're going to see a tech that you generally don't see in a lot of speedruns anymore. This is called a stasis launch, and this is something you can definitely do in your casual playthrough. Because it's more or less the intended mechanics of the game. We can use this boulder to ride and skip the cliff climb. That saves several seconds. Now we're going to get this one out of the way so we can set up another BLSS. And you'll notice that we're taking cold damage, so you really want to try to be quick here to lose as little health as possible for the wind bomb inside the shrine. This one's a bit finicky, got to curve around the edge here. Now this next clip upcoming is going to be different from the ones you've seen so far. This is what we call an extended shield clip, where you can clip through the front door. It's basically a way that we can use a frame-perfect shield equip to clip through two walls at once. And I got a first try. Very nice. That's definitely killed a lot of PvP paces, especially since, you know, you're in the cold. You're constantly on a timer of whittling down your health. So if you spend too long on that clip, you could run out of time to have enough health to do the wind bomb inside the shrine here. But yeah, if you were coming here looking for creative problem-solving solutions for these shrines, unfortunately, I have nothing for you. We are just going to launch right to the end with bombs. That one's my favorite for sure. It's great getting a nice bounce off that wall right to the cage. We've just got a little bit of dialogue here, so if our host has anything quick for us, we could take that here.
Well, we have $5 from SCXCR. How do you do, fellow? Oh, sorry. Excuse me. How do you do, fellow Midwesterners? Haven't been able to do much speedrunning as of late, but still wanted to support the Speedfest crew. Pesto is the Wild is looking great there, yeah? Thank you, SCXCR. That is another $5. We are at $3,030. That means we do some quick math. Where we at here? There. You got $220 to get that Tears of the Kingdom bonus run. So let's make that happen. We have about 15 minutes to make that a thing. So I think if I hear correctly, maybe it's just the wind, but if that is indeed a $5 donation train coming down those tracks, that set is gonna get met lickety split. So let's get that train rolling. Let's see it get into the station.
There you go. Ideally, you can kind of flip right into the cutscene trigger here, but I had to play it safe. So now we're going to be getting up the paraglider, which means that we won't need to do any more fall damage cancels. And actually, we don't even use the paraglider that much in this run, just in a couple of spots. Because why glide when you can blow yourself up and fly across the map?
We got
faster than the game can even load.
Got $25 from Mel 1997, no comment, as well as $10 from Yellow, which means that is $185 left for Tears of the Kingdom. It's a happening, folks. Just keep it going.
Yeah, I think that's gonna work. Alright, there we go. Now, we're going to be heading straight to Castle. This is the longest slide of the run. So let's hope we can get it smooth there. One interesting thing about Link's movement speed with this this glitch here is that there is actually a speed cap. You can go fast enough that the game will just say you're not allowed to go any faster, and it'll just immediately drop you to almost no speed. So we're not going to be flicking the controller the entire time. Sometimes we got to take a little bit of a break so that we avoid hitting that speed cap. And the route through Castle is very intricate. We're going to be routing our weapon pickups perfectly so that we have just enough attack and durability for the bosses. You know, this game is infamous for its weapon durability mechanic. Alright, dropped a bit early here. We're going to try to get in so fast that this gate remains unloaded. Let's see if we get lucky here. Very nice. Oh, flashing lights warning, I guess. Alright, and then we're going to attempt to... A big part of our weapon routing is getting in what we call sneak strikes, which is an intended mechanic in the game where you can sneak up behind an enemy. And I forgot to throw a spear, so let's do this. Oh, okay, this is going to be a bit sketchy because we got the cutscene super late. Let's hope we don't die to these lizards. But a sneak strike is basically a stealth kill and it does quadruple damage. So we've got a 52 attack power weapon and doing a sneak strike is over 200 damage. So definitely what we need to take down these tough endgame enemies with basically nothing in our inventory. Along the way, we're also going to be grabbing some powerful ancient arrows. We're going to be saving these for the final boss, Calamity.
Folks, we are just $100 away from reaching that Tears of the Kingdom incentive. That train is indeed rolling along now, and if my ears do not fail me, I think I hear more cars are coming. We got $25 from Ad. Let's meet that Tears of the Kingdom incentive. Let's start a Let's Go Link $10 donation train. We got $20 from Tammy. Gra! We $5 anonymous donation, no comments. We got $10 from Luna Eclipse. Let's get this incentive met. Here is my contribution to this $5 donation train, as well as a contribution for someone else. And then $25 from Rebel Hard Knuckle. Choo choo, they say. Choo choo.
Wow, thank you everybody so much for the support. Of course, this is going to Pete Fund Foundation and the amazing work that they do. Now we're almost at the end of the castle here. Just one more weapon pickup. Bit of a tricky wind bomb here. All right. Get my backup food here. We're gonna distract this moblin so we can come back here, grab these arrows, get in a stealth kill, and grab a couple powerful weapons. And that's it. Everything we have in our inventory right now is all we need to complete the boss rush. And so all that's left is to get there.
So that's like, what, 10 minutes maybe?
Not even.
Not even 10 minutes.
If things go according to plan.
Not even 10 minutes, folks. We are running out of time. Let's keep that train rolling.
Alright, so this next trick here is super fun. We're going to be doing a normalized setup against this wall here to shoot an arrow in a precise spot. Okay, I'm going to make sure I do that again. And we're going to attempt to skip the entirety of the first boss here. So if I buffer my shot into the cutscene trigger at the correct spot, okay, this should be working. The arrow's hurt box will remain active during this cutscene, and it'll be right inside the boss's weak point. So, alright, looks like we got it. We're going to see Windblight here kind of thrashing about, and that's the arrow doing continuous damage. And again, this is a very powerful bow with attack food up, which increases our attack by 30%. And so, that's it. Now for a lot of these bosses, what we do is basically spin with these two-handed weapons. Trying to get in good spots where we can get in double or triple hits. My spin there wasn't that great, so we're just going to back up with a couple more hits here. And we're on to phase 2. What's great about these two-handed weapons is they have a really high attack value, as well as having the ability to spin and getting a lot of hits quickly, which is a very high DPS, compared to other weapons like spears or swords, which if we get to Tears of the Kingdom, you'll get to see some of those.
Well, we got $25 from Rocket. Unintelligible war garble noise.
Alright, good RNG here.
And that means we are actually just $100 away now. I apologize before I did some fuzzy math, but it is legit $100 away now. And like, we are coming right down to the wire. It is now or never, folks.
We end up using most of our arrows on Waterblight there because he's hard to get kind of on the ground. Now for Fireblight here, the spacing is pretty precise, but we're just going to get in more of these spins, swap weapons. And again, the durability in which weapons we use when is all perfectly routed out. Got a very fast cycle there. Now second cycle of Fireblight I consider to be the hardest part of the Blight's boss rush, just because the spacing is quite precise. So he's got the shield here that we can break with a bomb. So we're going to jump and place it down in the room and then watch where he goes. This part's RNG, but it doesn't really make a difference in terms of time. We're going to line up here. We want to blow up the bomb in a precise location, so he's in a good placement for us to get in these hits. And some good spins. Okay. Try that again.
$5 from Hoptor, no comment, but thank you very much, as well as $5 from Seldom Seen Kid. Let's hit that bonus game incentive. Oh, it is like, what, like less than 5 minutes at this point. It is, we're just about there. We are on the razor's edge. Let's get those donations in right now. Let's see some Tears of the Kingdom.
Might be a bit short, yeah. Alright, had to back up with the bow there. So Thunderblight, the key to fighting this boss is he's got this shield that regenerates. And we did a bit of a manip there. If we end the phase while he's in the air with the shield broken, it ensures that it'll regenerate at the correct time so we can immediately break it and then spin to win.
We are $80 away. We got $10 from Danny, who says full body chills.
This is a bit rough here. Alright, got lucky. Oh! scramble a bit here, unfortunately. Alright, there we go. This should work. Oh, or not. Okay, we'll try it again. It's very important for this game to know your backups. Alright, now we're on to the actual final boss, Calamity Ganon. Sorry, I had to lock in for a bit there due to just some bad execution. So now for the final boss here is where I'm really going to focus up. We're going to start by emptying all those ancient herbs we grabbed directly into his face. No fear, just charge right in, get right up close on him. Getting these headshots for double damage. Now we're going to take advantage of some of the backup weapons in the room here, including these bomb arrows. And I'm going to quiet up here. Alright, and now we're on to phase 2. That was decently clean. So for phase 2, we're going to go for a strat that's called a stun lock. Hopefully we get a quick laser that we can parry here.
Cloud, have you considered playing less good? Not saying, just saying, you know. You're too good at this.
Don't tempt me. So the way the stun lock works is we need to get in some 3 full rotations for a fully charged spin. And then if we slam right as he's getting up, we can kind of induce him right back into a stun state, and we can just repeat that hopefully until we win here. We're running a little low on our attack timer, so I might have to improvise at the end of this.
Low on time in general, we have just $80 left to reach Tears of the Kingdom and just seconds left to do it. Someone, if you feel like sniping, now is the time. Oh hey, how about that? $80 anonymous donation. I'm going $80 mode. That means we have hit over $3,250. Not just that, we just got a $200 donation on top of that. Oh my God, let me actually hit the refresh button. Good Lord. F5, good God. Yeah, we got another $80 from MZ Cloud. She gets the job done. And $75 from I Have Newt, because Zelda is way cool.
I know, country boy quitter. So that was a bit stressful at the end there, but we backed it up. Running out of attack food there, like I said, the durability was perfectly timed so that you get everything in there, but since of the mishap on Thunderblight, I had to kind of improvise at the end there. Gay Pride, by the way. So for part 6 of the boss rush, it's a bit misleading. This is kind of basically an auto-scroller. It's much easier than what came before. Zelda's going to release these weak points that we have to fire on Dark Beast here. And I'm going to be listening to the music in the background to know when I can kind of pre-fire these shots to save a couple seconds if possible. But we are right at the end of Breath of the Wild. A little fun fact, this is actually the very first speedrun category I ever tried to learn way back in 2019. I never actually finished a run until last year, just because of life and got sidetracked with other categories, but it's really great to have gone back into this run. The community is wonderful. Many helpful people that have become good friends of mine. And I am honored to get to show off this category at charity events. Especially one as important as Speedfest. So after Breath of the Wild, are we gonna cut to break, or are we gonna go straight into the next run? don't know. Hey, I'm a huge fan of improvising, in case you couldn't tell.
Ancora un po'! Lo abbiamo quasi sconfitto!
Sounds good to me. All right, this is the final shot here. Time will come for Breath of the Wild as we get the final hit on Dark Beast, but I guess we'll keep the timer running as we head straight into Tears of the Kingdom.
Quello è finissimo, Link!
A bit anticlimactic, but
GG.
that's the run. It's always fun. When we do these runs on stream, everybody types G after we finish Breath of the Wild, and then I get the second G once we finish Tears of the Kingdom. So, speaking of Tears of the Kingdom, you guys got what you paid for. This is another super fun category. We're just going to jump right in. This is where timing would normally start for just a solo any % run. Now, very similar to Breath of the Wild. I guess before I say that, I'll preface by saying it's great that I got to show off both of these runs back to back because there's a lot that we can kind of compare and contrast between these two runs. Similarly to Breath of the Wild, we already start out with a clip out of bounds 30 seconds into our gameplay. And this is a bit different method than the scope. This is what we call a climb jump clip. And it's basically exactly what it sounds. We're going to line up in a very precise angle on the wall and then jump up, and it puts us in a perfect spot to wedge Link between two tiny gaps in the collision. So we're just going to ignore Zelda, unfortunately. Now this one can generally take a few tries. A lot of runs die here, so we'll take our time with this. Getting out of bounds allows us to skip a bunch of cutscene triggers, saving over 60 seconds in the run optimally. So definitely worth it to keep trying this one until we get it. Alright. There we go. A bit too far. There we go.
All right, chat. I am so flippin' proud of you all. We blew past that 3250 incentive to get this run here of Tears of the Kingdom.
Y'all did
And
amazing.
that's not all, though. If we push it further, if we go one step beyond, we break those limits and reach 3,500, we're going to give you a glitch exhibition. Oh, the marbles in my mouth. I'm sorry. And that will be coming up right after this Tears of the Kingdom run. Give you one last little bonus run, little treat to cap this event off. So that is just $95 away from just a little bit more Midwest Speedfest here in 2025. Let's make it happen, folks. You did it once before. You can do it again. I believe.
Yeah, y'all have been incredible. Thank you so much for the support. To talk a little bit more about what we're doing here. So this is a 4-minute long unskippable cutscene, perfect for yapping. If we've got any yappers in chat, now.
Yo, can we some yappers in chat?
Let's see all your favorite Zelda emotes that you might
Let's
have.
go yappers.
So this run, comparing to Breath of the Wild, if you've played both of them casually, you know they start off in a very similar way, where you kind of wake up on a tutorial area that you need to complete 4 shrines to get through. And then after that, you can head straight to the end of the game. Now, the framework is identical, but the way we go about it is quite different. In terms of glitches, from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom, obviously many things were patched. However, many new glitches were also introduced. Some actually that we believe are a side product of the way that Nintendo tried to patch some of the glitches in Breath of the Wild. A lot of the glitches that we have in Tears of the Kingdom in the sequel make use of the inventory system and the way that it was kind of recoded to work to perform interesting actions. We're going to be seeing some pretty cool stuff that involves just kind of a lot of obtuse looking menuing, but don't worry about that too much, and we'll just get to enjoy the end result. And we can enjoy a little bit of movie night here for a second. Oh, I never talked about language. In case you notice, in Breath of the Wild we were playing in French with Italian voice acting, a bit of an eclectic combo. But that just ends up being the fastest combination for both text and voice acting in that game. In Tears of the Kingdom, any percent we use Russian for text. And the voice acting language doesn't matter. I like to set it to Japanese because I'm a bit of a weeb like that. I like the voice acting. What can I say? But yeah, for longer categories we generally use English, which I know it's a bit boring. But for any percent we get to choose which language we want to hear the cutscene in. Now, one thing I also think is interesting between the Breath of the Wild and the Tears of the Kingdom speedrun is the pacing. As you could tell, Breath of the Wild was insanely fast-paced. We barely had any time to breathe, going forth between shrine to shrine. Tears of the Kingdom is similar. The movement glitches we have in any percent are a bit slower than BLSS and wind bombs that we can see in Breath of the Wild, but we still have tech to breeze past all the shrine puzzles. It's also worth mentioning that at the end of the game there is a boss rush in Tears of the Kingdom, but there's also the Demon King's army that you had to fight before that. However, it's going to play out a bit differently than we saw in our last run. And thank God there's no Thunderblight, I'll just say that much. So as we're kind of coming out of the cutscene here, we're going to be waking up on the Great Sky Island, which is our tutorial area. Another interesting thing about this game, compared to Breath of the Wild, is there's so much verticality. Instead of just going from location to location, you really have to consider your height as well. Are we descending? Are we ascending? And take that into account when you're kind of routing how to get through the speedrun quickest. So as such, we have a set shrine order that is the quickest and has nothing to do with the abilities. Unlike Breath of the Wild, we wanted to get to Bomb Shrine first so we can perform wind bombs. In Tears of the Kingdom, we're going to be going to Ascend first, which is quite useless in the speedrun context, at least for this category. And it all has to do with where the shrine is located. So now that our movie night's over, we're going to be grabbing our first key item, which is the Decayed Master Sword. And we're not going to be using this very long. In fact, we're going to break it quite soon here. So if you're a fan of 5 from Skyward Sword, I recommend you look away during that part. But after completing that very hard intro clip that we did, we get treated with yet another one of the hardest tricks in the run right at the beginning here. This is a glitchless, just a movement tech called Cog Skip. We're going to be lining up a precise angle on this wheel on the side. Normally you're supposed to activate that terminal, and you've got this running section where you have to go through all these hallways, but instead we can just line up here. Not quite. There's a very small ledge behind me that you can't quite see based on my camera angle, but we're attempting to get enough speed and a good angle to get up on there. This trick, again, it saves multiple minutes, so I don't mind retrying several times. Not quite getting the speed I'm looking for. There's a very small patch of slope on this wheel here that you want to jump on. It can be kind of hard to hit. That is good. All right, we're up. And now some careful maneuvering. This is a platform. Oh, this is this is a platform the game does not want you to climb, so it tries to push you off. I'll play it safe by just jumping around. So not only does this skip a bunch of cutscenes, it also allows us early access to a chest on top of this island. We can get outside here without triggering the title cutscene and falling off. And we can see already one of the shrines here. Unlike Breath of the Wild, where normally you have to activate the tower before the shrines become accessible, but as you notice in the speedrun, we skipped the tower. In Tears of the Kingdom, they got smart about it, and the entry zones for the shrines are not active until you kind of activate the quest. So unfortunately, that slows us down a little bit in terms of our pacing, but we're going to speed that up as much as we can. Now, in terms of that item I mentioned briefly, this chest contains 3 wings. It's quite serendipitous that we have access to these so early because it allows us to pull off some very quick movement at the start of the game. And I'm just going to cheat a little bit here and do a glitch to duplicate those items very quickly. One other thing about Tears of the Kingdom, we mentioned the inventory system being very exploitable. Another glitch you can do there is easy item duplication, which Breath of the Wild does not have. However, if you donate to our bonus incentive,
that is right. We are still $95 away from hitting that bonus incentive of the glitch exhibition for Tears of the Kingdom. That is for Tears of the Kingdom, not Breath of the Wild 2, right?
It is Breath of the Wild.
That is Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Whoops.
If we have time, I might get to show off some Tears of the
You know,
Kingdom stuff too.
we're kind of just playing this by ear at this point,
Sounds
so we might just get a glitch heaven going if we're feeling really spicy about it.
Sounds
All
great.
we need to see that happen is $9 to $5. We are so close, and you've done it before, chat. You can do it again. Let's go.
All right. We're treated to yet another one of the toughest tricks in the game. I'll explain this after I try to go for it. This is wing flip. Oh, not quite. All right, so the intended strategy there is from here till we get to the Temple of Time down there, we want to play a little bit of the floor is lava. And there's a big autosave trigger above this little island here that we try to avoid with that trick called wing flip. I missed the grab. My timing was a bit off, but it's all right. We've got a backup strat for that. So after we grab our next key item here, we'll be playing a little bit of Game of the Floor is Lava. Something interesting about this game is that you can stand on devices, like the wings, to avoid updating Link's respawn coordinates. So the game doesn't really know where he should be if he's on a device, because it doesn't want you to be able to like save and then load a save midair when you're on a wing, right? So if we're able to stay on these wings, what we can do is activate the door of Temple of Time to make it so we can open the shrines and then void out or save and reload and get all the way back up top. And that'll save several minutes of running, climbing, riding a raft, more running, more climbing, jumping over water, more climbing, more climbing. You get the idea. Anyways, it's a very handy time save. And on the way, we are going to be picking up a couple items. Just like Breath of the Wild, we need a weapon and we need a shield to facilitate some of our movement tech. And messing this up and touching the ground can lose multiple minutes, so I do have a backup save prepared in case things go off track. A little bit of a backflip dismount to get on the wing here. And now we're going to break the sword. That saves like 1 second because we don't have to menu over to our next weapon, but it's worth it. Alright, so this lineup here is a bit precise. There's a construct you can kind of see down there. He's got a sword and shield that we're going to be taking from him, and as you can see, I just broke our only weapon. So we're going to have to ram into him with this wing. And grab his stuff midair. And from here, we're going to try to get to that door, building a bridge of wings. And again, I'll play it pretty safe here, just so we can avoid having to use that backup save. Alright, and now that we've activated this cutscene, the quest flag is active for us to be able to enter shrines. Okay, we got 1 foot on the wing, that's good enough. If your wing placement's a bit off, you can actually save it with a frame-perfect side hop or backflip to get on the wing. I prefer not to do that. Unfortunately, fortunately we didn't have to. And I don't think I took any additional damage. Yeah, we should be good. We'll not have to grab the backup food. Maybe I should just grab it anyways. So as you can see, the wings that we had early access to because of that cog skip trick that I performed is really facilitating our movement. There's the first shrine we're going to be going to. So we're going to just run up through the cave system to get there, as we currently don't have anything else that can help us traverse upwards. And I'll just grab these. I hope not to need them, but just in case. On the way, we're going to be grabbing some bombs. If you were paying attention literally 20 minutes ago, you'll know that bombs are very useful for Zelda speedruns. And Tears of the Kingdom is no different. Okay. We actually don't really have any glitches that we'll be doing with these bomb flowers. However, they will facilitate some fast movement that we'll see later on, as well as some other tricks that we can do with these bombs. So we're going to be grabbing these on our way up. And we just got a little bit of movement here, so if our host has anything for us, that'd be a good time.
Well, we do have a $20 anonymous donation. Choo choo, they say. And that's right, we are just $75 away at that for getting that Breath of the Wild glitch exhibition going. That train needs to keep a rolling all night long with a heave and a hoe, because we just can't let it go. Let's go, chat.
All right, and with 1 heart to spare, we have made it to our first shrine. There's another similarity between the games. They just put a random shrine in a cold area to say, figure out how to survive in the cold. Instead of doing that, we're just gonna tank the damage and run through. Surely it shouldn't be a problem. So, like I mentioned, in terms of the abilities that we get on the Great Sky Island, they're not actually super useful for the speedrun as they are in Breath of the Wild. Ascend, hopefully we never need to use outside the shrine, only in the case of a backup. Fuse will come in handy, Ultra Hand not so much, Recall a little bit, we'll get there. But for this first shrine, we're going to actually be setting up our most important glitch of the run. Now I'll kind of go over what that is briefly here. So we talked about the exploitability of the inventory system, and another thing that you can do, that you can exploit in this game is the way that it handles trying to drop an item in a place that you don't have room to, like if your back's up on a wall or your back's up on a ledge or something like that. So we can use some of that menuing to exploit our items in hand, and we're going to be setting up a glitch called Arrow Smuggle. What that is the bow will be on Link's back, but it'll be in his hand invisible, and in that state we can perform what's called jump slash cancel. So in that state, if you have the bow drawn and you do a jump slash, so like a mid-air attack, it'll cancel that animation on the first frame, allowing you to instantly chain into another one, and you can carry whatever momentum you had across long distances. So I promise that's the last construct we're going to have to hurt in this run. And we're just going to come up here really quickly and grab a second bow, and then we'll be off flying. The Switch era speedruns are just coming up with new ways to fly. And in this game in particular, there's like 7 different glitches you can do to flying. Oh, okay. Try that again. All right. Almost there. Perfect. Okay, so there you can see that jump slash cancel effect. So I run into a jump, and then as you know, like if you just do a normal jump, it'll preserve the momentum for your jump slash and carry you forward. And we can, since we can cancel that animation on the first frame, it means we can chain directly into another one and continue that momentum all the way up. Now that was a bit slow, because if you're familiar with kind of some of the more minute mechanics of the game, if you do a forward jump slash, you don't go very far, but if you do one facing backwards, you gain a lot more distance. So it's just another one of those speedrun things, just like BLSS that we saw in our other game, that you just go faster if you're facing backwards. That seems to just be a thing in a lot of speedruns. But a long unskippable cutscene here, so if our host has anything for us now, it'd also be a good time.
Well, not to sound like a broken record, but we still have just $75 to reach that glitch exhibition incentive for Breath of the Wild. It is going to be a nice little cherry on top here at the end of Midwest Speedfest 2025. A nice round number to cap things off of with $3,500. It's going to be good for you. You get to see some really cool glitches being shown off by probably the most qualified person to show them off. And we get to raise just a bit more funds for P-Fund. And let me just remind you, things are kind of dire these days. And the more we can do to help them, the better it's going to be. So let's get those donations in. Let's get that nice round even $3,500. And let's see them glitches.
Thank you, thank you. All right, so here we've got a little bit of a trick shot. So we're going to line up and throw this capsule. Try to get on a wing here real quickly. So what's happening right now is that capsule hit a fan below, which will trigger the dialogue of this construct to give us the battery or the energy cell. Now, we don't actually use this at any point in the run because we have no devices that need it. But if we don't get it here, after you complete your second shrine, you're forced to get it in a much longer cutscene. So doing that little trick shot saves about 20 seconds. Now you can see we're going a lot faster since we're running off the wing and going backwards. Your speed while doing this arrow flight is completely dependent on your initial momentum. You can rep getting these repetitions faster or slower. It doesn't affect your speed, it just affects how high you go. And we're trying to lose speed, lose height here, so. Good angle we got right to our second shrine. Now, this is Fuse. This is the ability that we'll probably be using the most in the run because it'll allow us to fuse bombs to our shield and perform a lot of cool jumps and maneuvers. From now on, basically every single arrow flight that we're going to do will be initiated with a bomb launch, as that tends to give us the most momentum as well as height. So going back to the pacing a bit, you can see the pacing's a little bit slower for this run compared to Breath of the Wild, but personally I think it's kind of nice. You get to kind of punctuate these tricks with a little bit of breathing room.
It's cozier.
It's cozy for sure. That's a pepper. Okay. I'm gonna need this claymore here. I actually forgot to mention. We are debuting a brand new route for this game today, actually. Once we get off Great Sky Island, the way that we get to the end of the game is a bit different. So another trick shot there to get that chest flying right towards us, saving about 10 seconds or so. So yeah, I had to remember to pick up that claymore because in the past we did not need it. That's a pepper. On second thought, maybe I should not have grabbed the backup food. Okay, extra bombs here. Now I'm gonna be performing another inventory glitch. This one's another frame perfect to duplicate this claymore that we have here. First try, nice. And now while we're waiting for this door, we can drain our arrows. We'll get to that in a second. But we'll be going for a little trick here, just to skip a cutscene. Bounce up here, swap shields, carry momentum. And we're going to try to stay high on the ceiling here to avoid a cutscene trigger that is right below Link's feet. Not much wiggle room here. And that's the end of the shrine. That cutscene skip saves about 12 seconds or something. Now the reason we're draining arrows is, as you know, when you go to pull out your bow midair, Link will enter bullet time, which is that slow-mo effect. An arrow flight does work with bullet time, however, it's significantly slower because you get that zoom time stop effect for a bit. So we want to avoid being able to go into bullet time, which we can do by draining arrows or draining stamina, and draining arrows is quicker. Now for this fight, I'm gonna stop talking for about a minute or so. This is one of the most difficult in the run. I'm gonna perform a normalized setup. Shout out to Player 5 for coming up with this, by the way. This is should put us directly at that shrine, so I'm gonna focus. Alright, angle looks good, height looks good. Alright, there we go. That flight, and what makes it so difficult is it's multi-factored. So not only do we have to gain a lot of height, which means I have to get those repetitions in quickly. If you input too quickly, Link won't do the jump slash cancel, and he'll just do a normal jump slash, which will kill all your momentum, sending you hurtling towards the ground at fast speed. And that area, since we're going so far across the map, it's very laggy as the game tries to load everything in. And getting lag can kind of eat your drop frames and eat your input. So I try to look up there, pan the camera up a little bit to reduce lag. Some people might call it placebo, but I think it works. Ultra Hand here, we are also hopefully going to not need at all. And this shrine is super fun. We're going to set up what we call a ledge bomb, which we'll see a couple more times in the run. And this is just a specific setup to get a bomb jump right off the edge of a ledge, just kind of as it sounds, to maximize our horizontal momentum. So let's try to line up here. Oh, very nice. That's like the 95th percentile of good launches. we're done with the shrine. Alright, sequence-wise, and another part of the reason this game is a little bit slower paced than Breath of the Wild is we just have more to do on our checklist. Instead of being able to go right to the 4th shrine, we have to go to Temple of Time a second time, get the recall ability, unlock fast travel, more cutscene, more dialogue, warp back, traverse to the shrine, and then we can do the shrine, and then we have to traverse all the way back a second time. So we completed Great Plateau earlier in about 15 minutes. From new game to ending Great Sky Island, it generally takes about 28, 29. So this launch setup is pretty fun. We're going to try to get a nice angle to that door. Backflip onto the wing here. And then use the wing as our slope. Very fun. And this looks like a great angle. Let's drop a start at the door. And like I mentioned, we've got a lot of cutscenes, dialogue coming up, so the floor is yours for the next couple minutes.
Well, we are still waiting to see that needle move to reach that $3,500 limit to get that glitch exhibition incentive met. It is close. We have a little bit of time, but it is less than you think. Cloud has been plowing through these games, and I wouldn't be surprised if we come a little under. It'd be, a real nice to see us get ahead of schedule, but the timing might be a little off, as this is the one time we could really use the extension. That being said, get those donations in now, and let's keep on supporting P-Fund. $3,500. Once again, that is the magic number to get that Breath of the Wild glitch exhibition going, and just seeing just a little bit more that Midwest Speedfest 2025 has to offer.
Alright, so more dialogue here. This is where we unlock fast travel, which is required to get back up to recall. You can actually get up there without fast travel, but obviously that's a lot slower than just warping there in the first place. And then we have to warp back as well. We do have a quite heavy RNG check coming up after the end of our shrine. So we might be able to stall for time a little bit there, but let's get those donations in for P-Fund. So coming back to the Room of Awakening, this part's always a little bit cathartic for me, especially on a run like this one where I struggled to get cog skip on first or second try. Instead of having to do that trick again, we can just bomb jump right up the ledge. Another thing that we touched on briefly in Breath of the Wild was manipulating the loading times, talking about making sure not to skip that monk cutscene earlier. In the Switch is a wonderful piece of hardware, but it's also quite old at this point, and Tears of the Kingdom is a big game. So we do as much as we can to reduce the amount of time we have to spend in loading screens. So you might have saw it back at the recall tier there. We jumped forward just a tiny bit. The closer you are to that tier, it gives you a faster load in and out of the cutscene. And then we're going to see another load minute coming up after this shrine as well. This one's on a pretty tight cycle. We look like we're okay to hit it, though. 1, 2, 3,
Yo, we have reached $3,504. That means we get to see the glitch exhibition of Breath of the Wild. We did it! We did it! We did it with $74 from the who can't count. They say I can't count. As well as $5 from Luna Eclipse. Choo-choo! I hear another $5 train coming. And that wouldn't be a bad thing either. Just because we have met the glitch exhibition incentive, that doesn't mean we need to stop donating for P-Fund. The more donations we get in for them, the more good work they can do. And like I said before, this year especially, oh my God, they could use all the help they can get. So please keep those donations coming. Let's keep that train rolling along, and let's just see how high we can get that number up before the end of the marathon. Let's go!
My little scanner here is giving me a bit of trouble. We're looking for a gem, either a ruby or a topaz. We have a 26% drop rate to get either of those, so 4 scans on average, but I have historically bad luck with this. My personal worst is 24, if you want to do the math on that. Okay, we don't need to stall anymore. We already hit the incentive. And similar to Breath of the Wild, this is something that we could just get from the game itself without having to use the peripheral device, but using the amiibo generally is a bit faster, although in this case it looks like we're just going to break even with not using it. I've not been counting, but this is very bad luck. Okay. There we go. Now you may be wondering, why are we, if we have such a heavy RNG check, why don't we do it earlier in the run? So this is actually another load manipulation. Inside this cave, there's something interesting between caves and the overworld in terms of loading, that you'll generally get a much longer load if you're warping from inside a cave to outside a cave. But the more time you spend in that cave before warping gives you a better chance at a much faster load like we got there. Alright, well... Sure, why not? Well, I said we don't need to use Ascend again, but as a little treat, there you go. Had to back up that weird angle. But this is our final trip to Temple of Time, and now we are just about done with the tutorial section of the game. And we'll be heading straight to the end game. And I should probably start explaining what's about to happen now, because I'm going to focus up after we get off. This is where our route diverges, and we are debuting the new route live for the first time. Right here at Midwest Speedfest 2025. Alright, so how do I even start explaining this? This trick is called Deer Clip. And this will be self-evident why we call it that in a couple minutes. But to give a little bit of background, this relies on more inventory manipulation. We perform a glitch called Map Juggle, which basically just means that we can smuggle weapons into Lee's hand. And if we smuggle enough of them into his hand at once, it'll overload his model, which has some strange effects, including if you try to interact with a mountable object, so like a steering stick, a horse, a deer, the telescope, a lookout landing for some reason, it'll just ignore collision and clip you right through. So we're going to be performing this glitch to stack 10 of those claymores that we grabbed from the Fuse Shrine into Link's hand to reach that state of overload, which will allow us to clip, as you'll see shortly here, one last little ledge bomb here. This one's my favorite. This is a cute little setup to get off the nose of the wing. And a very fast flight to the end. And there's Great Sky Island. Alright, for this next part here, it's very important that I don't mess up the count, so I'm going to just focus on counting. And we'll be heading straight to the depths to take on the endgame. Alright, so I'm going to crouch here. One. Oh, that didn't work. One. Two. Three. Four. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. And 10. All right. Now let's go find our deer. So we talked about mountable objects. A deer counts as a mountable object. And so we're going to descend on this poor deer from above and clip right through him, out of bounds, underground. He's always in the same spot here. And that's deer clip. We are now in this purgatory land between the depths and the surface, out of bounds. Little mitter. Let's check my wing count real quick. Oh, we're perfect. All right. All right, as we're going here, we can make use of these shield surfs to duplicate our gems. These gems here we're going to be using for the army. We're just going to basically like throw them at the enemies. These are little electric nukes that have 80 damage for each one. And with basically infinite of these. Okay, bad spacing there. I'm going to get a little more for backup, just in case. It's a little dark here, but if my angle was true, this should drop us right above the army platform where we can clip back in. Clipping out of bounds is significantly more difficult in Tears of the Kingdom than it is in Breath of the Wild. That skew that we use to shield surf and clip through walls in Breath of the Wild, we cannot do here. They don't actually, they patch the ability to let you unequip your shield midair. However, we're going to get around that by using the rune menu. Fall damage cancel, which I completely didn't talk about, but yeah, that's another thing you can do in this game. So by unequipping there, I can just ragdoll and clip back and bounce. Now there's a little handy autosave trigger right here that I'm going to grab, because if I die in army and I don't have this, it's going to put us all the way back at GSI, having us to redo deer clip again. So to avoid that, we're just going to be getting that autosave quickly. And now here comes the fun. This is probably not how you took down these guys in your casual playthrough, I would imagine. This guy's getting kind of annoying. This is all about damage, and also crowd control is very important for these enemies, because as you can see, I missed a single bokoblin there and it cost me like 10 seconds trying to get things figured out. Now during army, we're going to also focus on collecting weapons that we'll need to take on Ganondorf, the final boss. I'm not sure what I just picked up there. I hope it was the right one. It was. We're good. This is the scariest part of army. There's a lot of RNG in the way these guys can jump up on you, but it looks like we got lucky here. I need a royal sword. There we go. Alright, halfway done with army. Now ideally this Gibdo phase you can get in 2 throws. I kind of suck at this part, so it'll probably take me 3, but... we'll see what we can do here. Okay. Actually, this is looking good. Alright. Grabbing arrows for our next trick after army. Now just one more phase, we got the moblins, and I've got tons of gems to spare, so we should be fine. Now that royal sword and that horn that we grabbed are going to be for the next 2 bosses that we'll have to fight. And you'll notice I'm using the recall rune. It's just to cancel the throw animation so I can get the next one out quicker. And it also just helps with crowd control, so that enemies aren't moving around. And that's the Demon King's army. Now, if you haven't beaten any of the dungeons of this game, we have another 6-part boss rush. However, unlike Breath of the Wild, we can skip all these entirely. We have basically nothing to fight them, and we don't need that. What we're going to do is use a trick also enabled by Arrow Smuggle called a jump/cancel clip that we can clip out of bounds through ceilings. Let's get down here real quick. We're looking for a specific frame. There we go. And actually, yeah, this is fine. We'll just go like this. And now we can kind of come over here. The camera does not like us being down here, so we're going to have to try to find our spots. Again, looking for a specific bonk frame here, and then shield jump to pull us through, and we're back in bounds. The trigger to activate the Ganondorf fight is already active as soon as you finish army. I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this. So, we do have to fight Army. If you clip out of bounds during Army and come back here, Ganondorf will not show up for work. So we have to defeat his Army first to get him to wake up. However, the bosses we can skip. And if you're as big a fan of the Colgera boss fight music as I am, lucky day for you because we're going to get to listen to it for the Ganondorf fight. Now, something I forgot to mention about Zuggle. Those 10 weapons we have stacked in Link's hand, they can all do damage. And when we fuse a material to a Zuggle stack, it applies to every single one of those weapons. So we've got a lot of power packed in Link's fist here. Plus the double damage from the Royal Sword allows us to just do that. Phase 2, more of the same. There's a bit of RNG in which attack he gives us. We got the sword, which is really quick. Very nice. And again, just one cycle Flurry Rush with our Zuggle stack here. Now, phase 3 of Ganondorf, he tries to take a page out of your own book and hit you with the Flurry Rush, but we can just Flurry Rush, hit his Flurry Rush, and then end the phase. And what's great here is with this new routing, the Zuggle stack has just enough durability to break on like the second to last hit of Ganondorf. So we don't have to do any menuing to get rid of that stack later, which we had to do in former routes of this category. Now, you've seen how quick and easy Ganondorf is. The last part of the game, Demon Dragon, is not quite as simple and is multitudes harder than Ganondorf. So we're just going to induce this Flurry Rush here. Read his attack and counter with a move of our own. And Demon King down. As I mentioned, Demon Dragon coming up here as we sit through this long loading screen is what I consider to be the most difficult part or difficult segment of a Tears of the Kingdom any % run. As you may have noticed, we did not grab the paraglider, which you're supposed to have for this fight. So we're going to have to make do without it by making use of our jump slashes and also getting the help of the Light Dragon, aka Zelda, our girl who we're going to have to rescue for the second time in just over an hour. She's always getting into trouble. But thankfully, she gives us a little plot armor piece here, the Master Sword, which is crucial for damaging Demon Dragon. Now, if you were around for my All Dungeons run of this game at AGDQ a few months ago, we were able to get through this quite quickly because we had rockets and a bunch of other stuff. But any percent is going to be a lot tougher because, like I mentioned, we don't have the paraglider. All we have is our sword and wings. And that's exactly what we're going to be using to take down the final boss. It really kind of jump scared us in the speedrun scene, going from the final segment of Breath of the Wild basically being an auto-scroller fight to Demon Dragon being like the toughest part of the run. So there's really not much to say about this part. I'll just kind of let the game speak for itself as I focus and try to get a clean cycle here. I've got backup strats. For my backup strats. But missing the optimal cycle here loses at least 40 seconds. So we're going to try to clutch up and see what we can do as we end off this super fun multi-Zelda saga speedrun. Kind of bad. Wait, did it not go? Alright, this is a bit unfortunate. I might have missed a hit there. Alright, we'll have to improvise, I think. But this should be okay. Yeah, I missed a hit. Strange. Well, we improvised once already. Why not do it again? actually. Let's just dive back down. More time for us to enjoy this amazing soundtrack. I'd like to hear from you guys in chat. Do you like the Dark Beast Ganon theme or the Demon Dragon theme better? I think I slightly prefer this one, but it's very close. Alright. Yeah, somehow I missed a hit on that eye, so we'll have to go back and get that one. A wonderful benefit of Aero Smuggle is it allows us to kind of stall midair and do fancy tricks like that to kind of back up our flights. Alright, well, I suppose we'll let that one go. But yeah, actually, before we end off our run, if we've got anything else from our host, now would be a great time to for some final words.
Well, I just want to say just how heckin' proud I am of everyone who has donated to this event, everyone who has participated, all our runners, all our volunteers, everyone who has made Midwest Speedfest 2025, Midwest Speedfest 2025. We've had some fabulous runs. I've been so pleased to be able to be up here once again to host for some really cool runs, some games that I probably would have never seen had I not been here doing this with all of you. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for what you have been doing, and let's just keep it going. Matter of fact, what is this? What is this? Is that another donation? Well, $100 donation.
Oh, wow.
Coming in right here at the end, bringing us up to $3,604 raised for P-Fund. This is $100 from Bahamut X, I'm sorry. I heard a Discord notification sound and it reminded me I hadn't donated yet this weekend, and I wanted to do it before it was over. Sad I wasn't able to be there this year, but glad I got to catch the end. Congrats on a successful weekend. I couldn't say it better myself, Bahamut. I thank you so much. That is absolutely incredible. We have blown past our goal. It's great to see it. Love to see it. Love you all.
All right, there's just 1 minute left of our run, and we get to end on a little bit of a celebratory note, a little victory lap as we dive down to catch the princess. Hopefully for the last time. I've already saved you twice today. Let's not go for round 3. I do have Echoes of Wisdom on my other Switch if we want to do another run real quick. No, I'm just kidding. At least that time Zelda gets to save Link. But yeah, I'll just use this time to say thank you so much to everybody who's donated and supported, everybody who's been here online or in person, watching the run here. It's been wonderful to be part of Midwest Speedfest for the 2nd year in a row, and to show off these 2 amazing games that I have put, admittedly, way too much time into. And so I hope you all enjoyed the run, and I hope that you'll, if you're interested in these runs, that you'll check out the Breath of the Wild and or Tears of the Kingdom speedrunning discords to learn more and maybe get involved yourself. And time ends here in just a second as we catch Zelda's hand. In 3, 2, 1, and time. All right, so we could take a break, or we could just jump right into it. I've got a save file set up that we can use. All right.
We're just jumping right in.
This will be pretty quick. I've just got one thing to show off, but it's something very cool, and it's actually a little bit of a teaser for the next project that I'm working on. Like I mentioned, I've been running Breath of the Kingdom any percent for the past couple months. However, there's also a Breath of the Kingdom All Dungeons category that it's about a 4.5-hour run that I will be working on coming up in the next couple months here. So I want to show off perhaps what could be considered the most broken glitch between both of these games combined, which is inventory slot transfer. In Tears of the Kingdom, we have very quick ways to duplicate items. In Breath of the Wild, we also do, however, the setup's a bit more involved, and I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I have no clue how to explain it. I just know how to do it. So we're just gonna have to sit through here and enjoy the magic. So this is a setup using the all dungeons speedrun here at Rito Village. And what inventory slot transfer does is well, I mean, as the name implies, it transfers slots in your inventory. And we perform some smuggle glitches to sell items that we technically don't have in an attempt to break slots and transfer that to other save files. And this provides some very interesting effects. So I'll just get started with the setup here. This is going to look like black magic, and again, I have no clue how to explain what's going on here, so we'll just have to enjoy the fun. Not quite. Alright, that should work. Now we're selling these items to break slots, which is going to have some interesting effects. We're going to do 2 rounds of this. So grab our items here. Pick our bag of items. Ah. Got snapped back. Oh, wait a second. Things might not go according to plan here. I'm gonna have to try something real quick. Which is getting rid of this. If I have to redo and start up the setup again, should be okay. Oh, that's not quite it, actually. There we go. All right. Actually, we're all gonna learn and see if this works. I'm not sure if it will, based on my inventory setup at the start. So we'll find out. Actually, wait, I don't need those. That also might have messed up something. We're gonna find out together. Oh. Actually, I'm pretty sure I messed up, but let's just see. This will be fun. We'll figure out what's going on here. Okay, I don't think that worked. Well, I've duplicated 3 peppers, 2 fairies, and 3 thistles here. Not exactly what we were looking for, but I'm gonna close the game and retry that again. But yeah, the Breath of the Kingdom All Dungeons is it's gonna be quite challenging. It's gonna be very fun. We have this trick 30 minutes into the first game. And then Tears of the Kingdom, as you saw, quite a high difficulty level as well. I'm actually still learning this category, Breath of the Wild All Dungeons. It's got some very neat tricks. So if you're interested in seeing what it has to offer, come check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/cloud. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Let's get rid of that first of all. Alright, yeah, that's the step that I forgot at the beginning. No, I don't want to talk to you. Sorry. We'll be back in a second. Oh my god, the way she screams when the bomb drops. I'm so sorry. I really am. Alright. Alright, now this should work. And then drop this, drop this. Drop these. Pick them up. Unequip. And let her save. Alright, so this is going to be breaking our slots, and then we've got one more step to perform here. We'll know if we got it correctly in just a second. Fingers crossed. Alright, looks like it worked. Okay, well, if everything went correctly, we should see our results here. Oh, well, okay, I kind of messed it up a little bit again, but okay, well, the intended result here is you're going to get like 300 fairies and 4,000 ancient arrows, not 6 in 2 different slots for some reason. So, if anything, this should just go to prove the difficulty of the run that I'm going to be trying to do. And huge shoutouts to a good friend of ours, Player 5, who just got the world record in this category a couple days ago. He's been grinding super hard at this game. Definitely go check him out if you're interested in Breath of the Wild speedruns. And unless we need something else, that's just about all I've got for you guys. But yeah, just again, this has been The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. Again, stay tuned for more alt dungeons coming in the future. Again, it's been a huge honor to be a part of Midwest Speedfest 2025. And thank you all again so much for supporting such an important cause. Again, I'm Cloud. That's all for me, and we'll turn it back to you guys. Thank you again.
All right, thank you so much, Cloud, for those amazing runs, that amazing exhibition, closing things out here at Midwest Speedfest 2025. We are going to take a ever so quick break, and then we have a very special video for you. We have our very own SSK interviewing with a member of P-Fund, as well as the VGM Con staff. And then we might get a little something coming from VGM Con themselves. So stay tuned for that. That was just a couple of moments here.